Hey everybody, so it's time for another NHL Remember Him video, and today I want to talk about somebody who had one of, if not the strangest NHL career that I can remember, and that is Jonathan Cheechoo. Jonathan Cheechoo, most of you will probably remember him with the San Jose Sharks because that's where he spent almost all of his NHL career. But Cheechoo was a really strange case, something that I can't think of anyone else who had anything like this in the NHL. This was a kid who burst onto the scene kind of out of nowhere. At one point looked like he could become one of the best goal scorers of an entire generation in the NHL, and then just as quickly as he rose to the absolute top, he plummeted back down and was out of the league in less than 10 years. He only played 7 NHL seasons. It's really a strange thing to look at, so let's get into it here. So Cheechoo played 501 career NHL games. He scored 170 goals, 135 assists for 305 points. He also played 59 playoff games, scoring 16 goals and 19 assists for 35 points. So Cheechoo was drafted in 1998, 29th overall, which is early in the second round, by the San Jose Sharks. And he didn't make the NHL right away. And, nowadays we see so many kids coming right into the NHL at 19, 20 years old, really not taking a time either at all in the minor leagues or not a very long time in the minor leagues and being pushed right to the NHL level. But back in the 90s and 2000s, you didn't really see that as much. Maybe if someone was an exceptional talent and just incredibly good, then it did happen. But most players had to play at least a few years in the minors. And we didn't see, even really good players didn't make the NHL until they were 22, 23, even 24 years old. Now, if someone makes the NHL at 24, we're like, wow, he's a late bloomer. It took him a while. But back then, that was the status quo. That was normal. And Cheechoo was drafted in 1998. He didn't make the NHL until 2002. And, so that's 4 years later. If he's drafted at 18, he's making the NHL at 22. Making the NHL at 22 isn't, thought of as a big deal nowadays. That's kind of even maybe a little bit on the later side for a lot of people. But back then, 22 was a really good young player. So it's just kind of a generational thing there. But he did make the NHL at 22 in 2002. And he didn't, do a whole lot right away. I think his first year, I believe he had 9 goals, and 16 points his first season. So that's not, anything spectacular. But then he really made a name for himself in his second NHL season, 2003-2004. He scored 28 goals. It was his first full NHL season. He played 81 games that year, 28 goals and 47 points. And that is when people started to recognize the name Jonathan Cheechoo. And San Jose was very high on him and very excited to see him almost get to the 30-goal mark in his second year. It was like, okay, wow, we might have something here. And then the NHL lockout happened, and the whole 2004-2005 season was lost. And that kind of put a big halt on things in the NHL across the board. From obviously no games were played, player development. That was a huge disruption in the world of hockey, in the world of the NHL. So then Cheechoo comes back for the first year after the lockout, 2005-2006. He plays 82 games and he scores 56 goals. 56 goals and 93 points in 2005-2006 for Jonathan Cheechoo. And this is when it was like, wow, okay, who is this guy? And it looked like he could potentially become a legendary goal scorer and somebody who would define an entire generation of goal scorers in the NHL. This is, right when Ovechkin is coming into the league. I think right before Crosby comes into the league. So those guys weren't fully established yet. Crosby wasn't even in the league yet. I don't believe. Although, no, Crosby was. That might have been Crosby's rookie season. I don't remember exactly the draft years for the. I think Ovechkin was 04, so then Crosby was 05. So that was Crosby's rookie season, Ovechkin's second. So you don't, you don't have those guys fully established in the league yet, although they are like the next generation and everyone knows it, and everyone knew how good they were going to be. You still had some other players. Who could have been at the top of the level there as far as best players in the league. It wasn't the Crosby and Ovechkin show just yet. Although right around after that season, it became the Crosby and Ovechkin show. But so Cheechoo with 56 goals, and it really looked like he could be something incredible. And he followed that up in 2006-2007 with a 37-goal season in 69 points. And now that certainly isn't as good as the year before. That's still a good season in the NHL. And at that point, he's had 2 good years in a row. You're looking at a guy who, sure, he's not going to score 50 every year, but he looks like a guy who could potentially, be a consistent 40-goal scorer. 2007-2008, he scores 23 goals, only plays 69 games, and injuries start to become a problem. Production goes way down. He only had 37 points. And that's when things started to get weird, because the next year he only played 66 games. Again, injuries became a problem. He only had 12 goals and 29 points. And this is what I'm talking about with the fall of Jonathan Cheechoo. He went from 56 goals to 93 points, down to 37 goals and 69 points, down to 23 goals and 37 points, down to 12 goals and 29 points. He fell off the map like a ton of bricks. And by the end of 2009, San Jose was done with him. He went to Ottawa for 1 year. He played 61 games. Again, injuries were a problem. 5 goals. 14 points for Ottawa. It is unbelievable how in a few short years he went from 56 goals and 93 points and, potential superstar to only 5 years later he scored 5 goals and 14 points. I can't think of any other career that went so high so quickly and then came crashing back down so quickly. It's not like, he hung around as a 35, 40 goal scorer for a few years and then kind of tapered off as he got older. No, he went up to 56, down to 37, and then fell like a ton of bricks to where 3 years after that 37-goal season, he's scoring 5 goals and getting sent to the minors. And that was it. That last year in Ottawa was it for Jonathan Cheechoo. I believe he played in the AHL for a year or two after that. I think maybe only one, and then I assume, I don't know what happened after that. I would assume he went off to Europe to play somewhere else, but he was done at the NHL level. So a really, really strange career, but definitely someone that I think most of you will remember, or at least have heard of. I know some of you who, a lot of you who are subscribers are on the younger side and may not necessarily remember 2005, 2006 that well, but you've probably at least heard of Jonathan Cheechoo because he was phenomenal for that one season, and he was pretty good this next year too. 37 goals and 69 points is nothing to be ashamed of, but then he just fell off like a ton of bricks, and that was it. By the time San Jose was done with him, he had nothing left in Ottawa, and he became a minor league player. So a really, really strange career, but definitely a noteworthy career. That it's just so odd, and I really can't think of anyone else like it. As far as the incredible highs and how quickly you dump to incredible lows as well. So Jonathan Cheechoo, most of you probably, I assume remember him as a San Jose Shark. That's where he spent all but one season. He for me, will always be a San Jose Shark, and he will always be one of the strangest NHL careers I can think of. Incredible highs down to incredible lows in a very, very short amount of time. Only lasted 7 NHL seasons. So that about wraps up this episode of NHL Remember Him, Jonathan Cheechoo. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.